What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sector for Nerds, and welcome to another episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars Retro Discussions. Today we're here to talk about Season 4, Episode 8, The General. This is part 2 of the Umbara arc. Very excited to be chatting with you guys about this episode. This episode was directed by Walter Murch and written by Matt Miknovitz. I'm hoping I pronounced both those names right. If not, I apologize. The cookie for this episode: the path of ignorance is guided by fear. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff. There's plenty of great content coming to you in the year of 2025 here on this channel, so you definitely don't want to miss out on any of it. Alright, intro guy, let us know what's going down in this episode. Turning the tide. As Separatist control over vital but isolated supply routes expands, Republic forces invade a key planet, the darkened world of Umbara. In the midst of helping Obi-Wan Kenobi's battalion conquer the Umbaran capital city, Anakin Skywalker is called away to Coruscant. His battalion is placed under the command of Jedi General Krell, a shrewd but temperamental leader. Krell's reckless strategy forces Captain Rex to retreat with his platoons in a disastrous defeat. Thank you, intro guy. And yeah, if you guys saw last week, I was chatting with this episode about DJ, man, when we started the Umbara arc and just how crazy that battle started out as and how Krell's reckless plan got all these clones killed and just this crazy thing. One thing that we didn't mention, you guys, last week that I wanted to mention now, because I've seen these Clone Wars episodes so many times, but there is one thing that I just noticed for the very first time when I watched through this episode last week. And it wasn't when I watched the episode itself. It was when I was going through collecting all of my pictures and videos that I would use for my Clone Wars video. And I found a picture of Ahsoka and Barriss leading the space attack on Umbara in like that opening crawl, like during the credits. And I never noticed it until this day. And I was like, wait a second, what? No, this can't be, this had to have been for a different episode, surely. And I went back and looked, and no, sure enough, Ahsoka Tano and Barriss Offee were a part of the Battle of Umbara. I had no idea. So this episode was a big deal for especially a lot of the people that were working on the show, the cast, the crew, and all that, because they had Walter Murch, who came in to help direct, be a special guest director for this episode, like an Academy Award-winning film editor, sound editor. I think like the big things that he's probably known for that people would know is Apocalypse Now and the Godfather movies. Man, this should have been the arc where the clones get the Phase 2 armor to start, man. Like, they 100% earned that. Like, I don't know why it had to be the Wolf Pack in the droid arc. I mean, I know why it was the Wolf Pack in the droid arc, but like, come on, Dave. You want to talk about, like, someone who just absolutely carried this arc on his back? It's D. Bradley Baker. And this episode especially, man, like this episode, we really dive deep into the clones and a lot of their individual personalities and how they feel about everything going on in this battle. So this episode starts out with the Umbaran starfighters attacking the clones, Kix, going after the wounded. We see Rex and the boys laying down cover fire. And for those who don't know Kix is the medic of the team when it comes to the 501st. We see him in the Saleucami episode, The Deserter, where he's the one that patches up Rex, and he's like, sir, as the team medic, when it comes to the health of the men, including you, I outrank everyone. We see him many times in this battle helping out wounded clones. Frickin' Krell isn't even doing anything. He's just standing on the sidelines. The only thing he does do is have a chat with Obi-Wan via hologram. And Obi-Wan's like talking about how there's this air base that they can capture which can cut off supplies to the capital, right? And Obi-Wan tells Krell, the entire mission depends on your battalion. Which I'm sure is exactly what Krell was counting on, you know what I'm saying? So Krell comes up with another reckless plan because, walking straight through the main road worked so well last time, they're gonna do it again. And the clones are furious with this. They're like, come on, man, we just did this and it failed. And the only one that really stands up for Krell is Dogma. He's like, I for one know what the general's doing. We're running out of time, and this is the best option for us. And Jesse points out, man, like, dude, these guys have weapons that we've never even seen before. Oh, the foreshadowing for what was to come. And Rex points out, look, a lot of General Skywalker's plans were reckless too, but they worked. And Fives points out, yeah, but General Skywalker was always leading his men out in the front lines, not bringing in the rear like General Krell. And Rex pulls Fives over for a second. He's like, look, Fives, I'm struggling here, man. It would really be helpful if you could just help me ease their minds a little bit. And Fives is like, look, what, you want me to convince them to walk into another one of Krell's suicide missions? Like, we lost a lot of men last time. Have you seen this man's casualty records? Like, more clones are killed under his control versus any other Jedi general. And Rex kind of tries to defend Krell a little bit too, right? He's like, look, that's the price of war, Fives. Or soldiers. Like, we have to lay down our lives if that's what the battle calls for. And Five says, is that what you believe, or is that what you were engineered to think? And I love this line from Rex. He says, I honor my code. That's what I believe. Such a great line. So they go through with Krell's plan, and of course, it's a trap. Because these giant worm tanks pop up from out of the ground with like 1,000 different guns on them. And they're shielded as well, so not much is working on them. Like the blasters aren't working, the AT-RTs aren't working. But you know what will work is a good old-fashioned rocket launcher. But it gets to a point where there's too many of them, and it's like, all right, they take cover, they plant detonators in a certain spot, they're going to blow the thing sky high, as Rex would say. And so they go through with set plan, and it ends up working out for them.
Come on, over here! You are! Right over here! We got him! We got him! Good job. All right, let's move out.
But when one of the tanks still has a little bit of juice left in it, the trooper shoots it with a rocket launcher, and the guy that falls out of it, Rex just shoots him several times and puts him out of his misery. I'm like, damn, this is dark. But if you thought the giant crazy weapons that we never seen before are over, no, you are very wrong, because then out walks 2 more tanks, bigger than the worm ones. And not only that, but rocket launchers don't work on these things. So then me as a fan sitting around first time watching this was in a panic. Because it's like, man, like, how do we get out of this? And Krell's sitting there telling him, like, you need to lead a full forward assault right now. You need to do it now. Attack. And I'm like, dude, are you insane? Like, they're all gonna die. I think, obviously, with a little bit of foreshadowing, we all know what Krell's intentions were, which is why I envy the 501st so much in this battle here, because they literally had everything working against them, right? They didn't have anything that can combat the power of the enemy weapons. They had a general who was out there quite literally trying to get them killed. This was bad. One of my favorite scenes from this entire arc comes up next here. So I talked a little bit about Kix before, right? The medic of the team, he's out there saving lives. And there comes a point where he pulls a couple soldiers back behind cover, and he's about to go and get more. And Rex stops him, and he says, forget it, we have to leave them. And Kix is beside himself, because, like, that's his duty as team medic, is to go and be there for his fellow brothers. And so he protests, but we can't just leave them, sir. And Rex is like, we don't have a choice. And Kix out of frustration goes, you know, now you're sounding like General Krell. And Rex just immediately stops in his tracks, and I'm sure he's probably furious as heck, and he just lays it in on Kix, and he goes, look, man, it's more important to save yourself right now. If we somehow manage to survive this battle, you can patch up the wounded later. And what I love so much about this moment is that neither man is wrong. Kix isn't wrong for wanting to go to help his men, because it's what he's meant to do. But Rex also has a really good point of his own in the fact that, dude, if you go out there again, like, you're gonna get yourself killed. If you're killed, you can't help your brothers. You're no good to them if you're dead. It was such like this small moment, but at the same time, maybe it was a bigger part than I'm giving it credit for, because they built up to it so well. Kix was sitting there throughout all the time in the earlier parts of this episode helping his boys, and in this moment, he gets stopped from doing it. I love this.
Forget it. We have to leave them. We can't just leave them, sir. You don't have a choice. That's an order. You sound like General Krell. Look, Kix, it's more important to save yourself right now. If we survive, you can patch up the wounded later.
And so Tup sits there like, man, this is it. And Rex is like, no, don't worry. We still got some fight left in us. I've got a plan. So he goes over the plan with Krell, and he's like, I've dispatched 2 men to go and hijack starfighters and use them to take out the enemy tanks, considering the fact that we have nothing that can combat their power. And Krell's sitting there like, no, you cannot. You must lead a full forward assault, or you will be relieved of duty. And I'm sat there like, bro, why? No. Either get relieved of duty or die? die? Those are some lousy options. But Rex just kind of looks at his boys and he's like, all right, well, we have to hold out as long as we can. I'm trusting Fives and Hardcase to get this done. A crazy clone cameo that we get in this episode is Sergeant Appo. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Appo supposed to be the clone that ends up telling Bail Organa in Revenge of the Sith, I'm sorry, sir, it's time for you to leave? Isn't he in the micro series as well? But anyway, we get to know Hardcase a little bit in this episode. You know, obviously DJ and I were talking about last week how he's our favorite clone in this arc. The dude with the machine gun always going crazy. And Fives at one point is like, why don't you just focus on the task at hand instead of like guns blazing and everything? And Hardcase is like, man, my chamber on Camino had a leak and it now he's hyperactive because of it. But then Fives and Hardcase, they end up getting to these Umbaran starfighters and they, you know, have a little bit tough time controlling them at first. But it looks like they kind of eventually get the hang of it. At least the basics, anyway. Meanwhile, Rex and the boys are trying to desperately hold off the enemy. Rex is still trying to use rocket launchers on these things. He at one point shoots the gun, so I was thinking like, oh, okay, maybe they can at least disarm that. Well, nope, that's not happening. Luckily, though, Fives and Hardcase, they get there just in the nick of time. They start shooting down all the walkers or the tanks. One thing that Killian Plunkett said about this episode in the behind the scenes is that Umbara was like their quote-unquote video game planet. Because, like, you're making all these different, like, ships and tanks and stuff that, like, you wouldn't normally see in Star Wars. That it actually does feel more like a video game. So I'm sure the design team had a lot of fun with that. Fives and Hardcase, they end up taking down the tanks, and Krell's like, oh, impressive. Sergeant, the defenses are down. Attack the airbase. And you just see this fire in Krell's eyes. At first, I wasn't sure if it was like yellow eyes or fire eyes, but no, like it was just like there was fire, literal fire in them. I will say this was the episode where I started to get suspicious of Krell. I was like, dude, why is this guy, like, why does he have such reckless plans? Why does it feel like he's just constantly leading them into suicide missions? Like, something's just not right about this. In the end of the episode, you continue to see the frustrations with the clones grow even more with Krell, including Rex, because Krell informs them, like, all right, you consider yourselves lucky for succeeding in this mission. And Rex rightfully points out, well, it wasn't all just luck, sir. A lot of men died to take this base. And Krell goes, well, that's the price for such victory. Perhaps one day you'll realize this. And Rex just, like, clenches his fist. Like, that man was angry. As Krell just walks off, and that being the end of the episode. This was a really good episode. Another really good episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars. This Umbara arc is absolutely fantastic, you guys, and we still got 2 more episodes to go yet. Next week, you guys, I'm going to be joined by my friend DJ to talk about part 3 of the Umbara arc. And I think if all goes according to plan, for part 4, I'm going to have both DJ and Orkaz joining me once again. Y'all might remember him from the Season 3 review that we did together. So the plan is to get all of us together to do that final part of the Umbara arc. I'm very excited. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of this episode. That's going to wrap us up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with others to help support the channel, and I will see you guys next time.
Can't turn back now! Cover me! Hardcase, get back in your ship! Trust me, I got a plan! This is for the 501st! Don't wait for me! Hardcase, now! You've disobeyed enough orders today, sir. Follow this one! Get out of here!